see, but from the air perspective, from any range of things you want to look at, most namely the fires and Katrina, Rita, Ike, to name a few of the hurricanes we've had, to get things to people who are in need, to medevac people out of hospitals and homes is one of the things the Air Force, I think, does very well. And looking out at what we have in the FIDEP, we're just going to get better in the area of mobility. Now, the tanker should cause us some concern because we're one grounding away on the KC-135 fleet from losing over 90% of the DoD organic strategic air refueling capability. If that happens, we're going to be the world's largest garrisoned air forces from all the services. So that should give us some alarm. Two areas I think we're probably weak, and it goes back to what Admiral Burke said about the maritime situational awareness, is I don't lose sleep over Russian long-range aviation flying more than they have in the past. That's what they want to do. They've got the money to do it. But they're not flying fleets of bombers like they did 20 years ago. But certainly, when we go back to the hybrid threat notion, the old joke is, what's the best Soviet air defense system penetrator ever built? Well, it's a Cessna 172 built in Wichita, Kansas. One landed at Red Square out of Germany 30 years ago. So take a rogue nation or a rogue actor, strap a dirty bomb or, God forbid, a nuclear weapon in a Cessna 172 and aim it at a nuclear plant in the United States, and you've got a real problem on your hands. So it's that whole identification scenario of, will we ever be able to track everything? I doubt it, but we have to have we have to keep looking at that in QDR and really all the time in the future threat environment by looking out at what the enemy or enemies of this country plan to do, and then backcasting that into the current thought processes. What could they have in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? And I think that's one of the things, obviously, we're going to do during QDR.
Thanks. Yeah, just to springboard off of what Mark was saying, it's, we talk Homeland Defense or we talk support to civil authorities. The Homeland Defense aspect, we are constrained what we can and cannot do inside our borders, but we also have the niche capabilities that the rest of the government doesn't have, or government agencies or states do not have. And the perfect example is the air defense aspect of that. And so we perform that, or the maritime aspect that's performed jointly between the Navy and the Coast Guard. And what's the asymmetric approach? Is it a bomber coming across the cap, or is it a bunch of Cessnas, or is it a Radio Shack cruise missile out of the Northwoods? The Unabomber lived a long time up in the Northwoods before we caught him. If you ever look at a map of Canada, there's a whole lot of space up there, and nobody occupying it. So you don't know what could or could not be going on. So how do you secure the approaches to the homeland? And maybe that's more of a mission that DoD plays in homeland defense from that aspect. Another one is building partnership or partner capacity. And who are the partners? Well, it's the interagency, definitely in the homeland aspect in the mission. I just recently left our North, so I'm very familiar with FEMA. Worked a lot with them, and how they were leveraging our defense coordinating officers to transform themselves and become a proactive agency. JTF North, working very, very closely with the Border Patrol and sharing actually military processes with the different interagencies that they're adopting and starting to employ, and getting better synergy out of that. When we look at our two local partners or international partners, Canada and Mexico, the Mexican Army is doing a lot of heavy lifting inside of Mexico to bring stability to that nation. And how can we assist them in getting better at that with capabilities? Likewise, as I said, Canada, that's a lot of wide open space up there. And so how do you secure that, or help them secure that? And then the states themselves. We kind of joke, 54 independent nation states. Well, sovereignty is important in that respect, and not all states are as capable as other states, and that's just a dynamic. Very impressive in some states' organization for dealing with natural disaster, because it's a regular business, it's seasonal, they're prepared, they think about it, and they do it. Other states don't have that capacity or don't have that situation. So how do you work with them to help them build, or at least get the plans developed, and then resource those plans so that when crisis happens, we can respond? And the third thing I think is rapid response. There's something reassuring to the American populace when they see someone in a uniform show up at the crisis, and it doesn't matter what the uniform is. There's this natural magnetism to the guy or gal in the uniform's going to make all better or know what to do. And so I think, rapid response with presence, capability, and you don't have to be in charge. It's that we're here to support. We're here to assist, I think carries a lot in the homeland aspect. And that's all I got.
Other questions?
Can I just finish?
Absolutely, sir.
I only gave half the answer. I only told you what we don't do well enough. And I know you're keeping score, so I want to tell you what we're doing well. And I think the piece about the Navy that enables pretty much everything else we do is forward presence. So through forward presence, we're there when the tsunami occurs. We are able to help the nations of Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia figure out how to do maritime security. So we're building that partner capacity. I think that it also enables us to do sea control, which is the enabler for power projection. So just want to be on the record as saying
I had a couple of questions, if I could. General Ramsey commented briefly in his comments about the organizational structure in the Air Force for their QDR office. I wonder if the other panelists could comment briefly on what your organizational structures are now, and what happens in the interim years between QDRs. I mean, how much work is going on now? And then the last part of that question, that's actually three subparts to it. I know it's an impossible question, but when the new administration comes in, whomever they are, how do you think you will go about briefing up and informing the new civilian leaders of the Pentagon? So what's your organizational structure now, and how do you think you'll inform the new leaders?
Well, as you can imagine, the Marine Corps has the most streamlined of the QDR organizations. We in fact stood down and do stand down between QDRs. It allows us to reinvent ourselves every 4 years, which is always an exciting thing to do.